You know, the developers of Wii Sports wanted to make a second side to Wii Sports, and what came out is Wii Play. Of course, I played this way back in 2008 once I got my Wii, and from that day on, I forgot about the cow minigame. And I'm also unable to forget the tank one. As you can already imagine, it's a collection of minigames, and it goes like, wow, you can aim at the screen, and I can see it ain't half bad. Honestly, most of the minigames aren't very in-depth, and you get stuff like Pong or Shoot the Target, which are, like, rather basic. I mean, unlike Wii Sports, it almost has no replayability. Let's take a look at the games, right? But first... Oh no, they have arms! Ah! No kidding though, if there's something I like about Wii Play, is the main menu. You get the nice music and then you get the Miis in the background just kinda messing around, like walking and swimming in the air. It's kinda cool. However, the important part is the minigames, which are arranged in a ring around your character, and they of course try to invite you to play. So I took a look at them again after so many years, and let me tell you, I still don't think they're that great. At least they want for a little discussion, you know? Like there's the target ones, where you shoot some targets. Honestly, I thought my also skills would help, but I think that didn't do squat. I like the part with the aliens because the Miis start to freak out and it's really silly and kinda cute and I live for that shit. You got Find Me, which is rather easy when you have Miis like Elizabeth or Luffy, since they are very recognizable, and then the game asks you to find a random, which makes it 10 times harder. It's challenging, especially when you get to the later stages, like the dark stages that are kinda hard. You also get a ping pong variant, which is just a less interesting version of the game from Wii Sports Resort. Like, here you just have to aim and have good reaction time, which I don't have. Now the real question, does it allow for a cool collages and ping pong animation music? Nah. You get Fit the Shape, which is seriously hard. It gets ridiculous and you need to switch spot, location and shape 1,000 million times. I think it is literally impossible to get past level 13 without post-human abilities. You get Neon Pong, where the emphasis is just way too good. I also kinda dislike the idea. It seems like they went up to a programming student and was like, hey yo, you need to make Pong for homework, and then they decided to pimp it up because the assignment was boring. Of course I didn't steal footage from Murasaki's all platinum speedrun. I'm actually this good. Who do you think I am? You also get Billiards, which is pretty decent, though it often feels like your ball is gravitated towards the pocket. It's loose and the physics aren't quite there yet properly. You get a fishing minigame, which I suck at as a child and I get bored at it as a grown-up. You get Charge, which is the cow minigame. I played it once. I don't like cows. It's kind of basic, you run and then you hit some scarecrows, super boring, like, you get more fun out of poking your friend in two-player mode. Now I showed you footage, but I don't have friends to play with. And finally, you get Tanks, which I also enjoy a lot. It's tricky but fair, the mechanics are clean and the aesthetics look damn nice. Also, the AI is super smart in a fair way, and the different kinds of tanks add to the great variety of it all. When you play Wii Play, it's mostly just tanks, because there's no reason to click on anything else. Again, it's just got no replayability whatsoever. I don't feel like playing any more of 6 out of these 9 games. Even though I recall spending quite some time on it. Perhaps it just happened like that because I had a friend to play it with. So yeah, I've got a bunch of good memories about this game, but it really doesn't live up to what I thought it was gonna be. So perhaps a later installment did in the future? Wii Play Motion. Okay, first things first. You wasted a perfectly fine opportunity to call this Wii Play Mo. I was actually kind of excited to check this one out, as it's the first marathon game I didn't ever get to play originally. And reminder that this is a marathon of several me game videos on a playlist you can find in the description. I hear people think this game is mediocre. I mean, Play is mediocre, but this one... well, perhaps it is unnecessary. What do you mean I need to learn? The power of the Wiimote! Bitch, it's 2011. This piece of trash is coming out and you're here like, finally! Again! And yet, it's miles better than normal Wii Play? You see, Wii Play had no replayability and tried to be arcade-ish. This one has no replayability, but it knows it doesn't. Good, you mastered a minigame or stage. Here's a reward. No more becoming something that isn't human to achieve something, anything. But the problem is really all about how dumb some of these minigames are. Here, let me explain using game design as my basis. Cause you know that's kinda the thing we do in this channel, I don't know. I scream a lot in my videos. Sorry, does it bother you all? There's this one game with the hamburger on mobile, and they ported it to the Wii. Look, I like ice cream, but I really don't like something eliciting an ice cold reaction out of me. My god, this game is so boring in both modes. The most interesting part is the visuals, but hey, at least it works. This isn't even a game. Eventually, the mechanic boils down to going back and forth, trying to avoid getting bored. Waka game, but not Waka-do. Where are the Wakas, Nintendo? There's this game with molds in like everywhere, including the Wii already. It's stupid shit. I wish I could look at a hammer and confidently go, yeah, I'll surprise this person. What could go wrong? It's whack-a-mole. What can I say about it? Let's see. My notes. The fruit splatters on hit limit passivity far too much. Huh. I really am a game developer wannabe. Skip! Nah, just kidding. It's a pun about skipping rocks. You better laugh. You skip rocks and I don't get it? Okay, this is my score the first playthrough. And this is my score the second playthrough. Somehow. There is a sport type version of this with ranks, which is pretty amusing and kind of interesting. I'd actually maybe see it if it was a real sport, but for now it goes on my sports that should exist rack along with Keijo. And the normal mode lets you skip stones that make funny noises every now and then. I don't know why the afternoon looks so natural. I've always loved the vibrant orange sunset that Wii games tend to have. It's an aesthetic like wet dry world, where I'm sure people will eventually pick it up as a retro look for wallpapers and music. Pose me! Ah, my back! It's pose me, but easier. There's only 5 levels, the pose changes automatically, it becomes miles easier when upscaled on an emulator because what is the shape? I like the way it looks and the way it plays. It makes Nate look real cute, but generally, it's boring and I'm not touching it again. Way to mess up a perfectly challenging game. The lack of difficulty and limited stages make this one miss on replay value, and the scoring system is too limited to keep you playing. Shoot! Hey, if you thought a sensor was bad for aiming, get ready to aim with a flipping stereoscope. Okay, see, if this minigame had locked its angle to 200 degrees, it would be dandy, but sometimes they want you to break your back in order to play the game. Excluding that, it would be pretty much better than the original shoot game. The extra stages add a lot to the gameplay, but it's such a typical concept that you can help but feel like it drags. Sure, the boss battles and the on-rail levels add to it, but here's a concept issue over an execution one. Boing! This one is just bad. 4 stages, bland mechanics, you can beat it just messing around, you basically bounce on the walls that launch on me all over the place. You can press a button to go backwards, so it's tricky. It could be a great mechanic for a segment in a platforming game, but as a minigame, it's weak. Annoying to control and having the most possibly generic power-ups. Plus, you're not trying to collect more pallets, you're just trying to collect them as fast as possible. It basically has no replayability. Losing my marbles! Ah, yes. A Nintendo-developed game where you tilt your controller and launch a ball to break some targets, which is pretty easy. You can tilt like crazy and often get a good score. Plus, it's difficult to lose. Until level 29, when it just becomes getting over it with Bennett Foddy, except you don't get the soothing jazz music and comforting narration, you just get this 5-second loop over and 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 over. Subscribe and over and over and over and over and over. It's the same thing where you slowly lose your composure, and you can lose your progress at any time. And of course, I was up to the challenge. I used to play Geometry Dash, and I'm a stubborn piece of ass. Alas, I'm hitting you with bars just like I beat the shit with sass! And it only took 3 hours. It's the typical Nintendo thing, where they make a really easy thing for the most part, challenge you a tiny bit, and suddenly it's the perfect run on the dark side of the moon. Actual proper challenges. I was ecstatic to finally find something great about this game, but thankfully it doesn't stop there. Have I told you What's Up Scooby-Doo is the best Scooby-Doo opening, by the way? Oh, so this is the Luigi's Mansion 2 thing everybody was talking about. Real talk for a second, I'm a huge Luigi's Mansion fan, but I haven't seen anything about Luigi's Mansion 3 because I wanted to play it on stream with you guys, and the only way that's gonna happen is if you like and subscribe. So... But this minigame is actually really good, just kinda tricky to show on a 2D space. So anyways, here's your screen and you basically have your controller here, and then you can spin it around the room to make it beep. And when it beeps real loud, you find an enemy and you can drag them to the screen. It actually shows the gyroscope. I called it the rotoscope as a joke a while ago, by the way. And it doesn't need to be precise because you can't actually see where you're aiming. It lets the developers make larger patches that move without the player knowledge to make it seem as accurate as it appears. This is the one game in the collection that exists for a reason and actually does its job. It's immersive, and it's cool to see your Mii's helping you at catching the ghost by giving you hints. Now, no channel with 4,000 subs hits you with custom-made 3D graphics, so you're literally stupid if you don't subscribe. Or at least share it a little. Umbrella yaki. Another good concept and execution. This one can be a full-blown racing game and it would be amazingly fun. You basically don some roller skates and let the wind push you to where you wanna go using an umbrella, allowing you to jump and glide all over the place. This is the one game I wish I had more time to play, as it is very fun but lacks sufficient tracks and variation. There's also an extra jump mode that's somewhat tricky, but it looks like one of those games I'd spent hours trying to improve at when I was younger. I didn't do it because theater targets had already consumed my soul, but in the depths, do your thing! Okay, so why don't they just find the One Piece? And now, back to garbage! This one plays like ass! You have to roll your controller to move it, but it's rather not precise. Things spawn and despawn randomly, leading to no insurance for the player experience, and it just takes too long to play. The aesthetics are boring and the mechanics aren't very good. Like, you're under the sea, you could do so many creative things. Your punishment for hitting an enemy is losing time, which means oxygen. What they do is that they decided, hey, let's make the player drop their cargo. But you could have just removed some oxygen to improve the player experience greatly. See, to get cargo, you need to take risks. And you already took the risks to get the cargo, and asking for even more risks just makes the player feel annoyed. It's bad. Okay, hold on, should Un become slang for air since balloons are filled with air? Another crap game. For infinite stages, and controlling the thing is just difficult for no reason. You gotta blow on these balloons to guide them, and it's just nerve-wracking. There isn't much fun to be found. I do like how these crows look when you zoom in on them though. And finally, space! See, this one could have been fun. I like the concept where you slowly build anything, and as you progress, it becomes more complete, a larger structure. Honestly, I'm a super fan of when games do this a lot. Sadly, the gameplay is all tedium and no fun. You gotta insert pieces into holes using your spaceship. Wink. But it's made so that any movement you do ends up overcorrecting, so a lot of precision is thrown out the window and you're left with a game where the controls almost ignore you completely. There's no proper rewards either, so you're left with zero reasons to play. Sure, the medals are there, but it doesn't feel rewarding for the hassle. Ultimately, compared to Wii Play, I'd say this one is much better, because it at least lasts longer and a few minigames have more replay value. But let's talk design. Do these games achieve the goal of teaching you about the power of the Wii controller? Or are they just padded out but fun with friends? For starters, like, why? Why does it exist? Wii Sports already showed me these mechanics, all you're doing is telling me you can aim, which is a basic function of the system. Even then, it doesn't focus on that at all. The challenge in most games is how hard it is to control. It's hard not to drop the ice cream, it's hard to throw at the right angle, it's hard to aim at the screen, it's hard to roll up or blow on or push around this thing that you need to roll up, blow on or push around. It's not a challenge, and that's a mistake, period. Comfortable to play games are better to provide a challenge. If you screw up, well that's on you, boyo. It's not even showing you the power of the Wii Motion Plus. Because most of these games are wonky and tacky. They have no heads or tails. The best ones are the ones that didn't try to make you use the controller in stupid ways. Like the Ghost one and the Targets one, because they either show something new or are mostly basic. That's why I like Theater Target so much. I screwed up the many times I screwed up, and that's on me, boyo. Designing a game is hard, but designing a minigame is harder because minigames are always extra. You don't have as much of a set budget for them, and they aren't as heavily documented for designing the game development pre-production process. They have their own rewards that don't affect the rest of the game world mostly, which means the player has no reason to play. Another very basic principle of game design. You need purpose in games. Either you make it yourself or it's given to you. Minigames bank on you making it yourself, so you get trash. You have a goal of maybe getting a higher score, but with scoring systems this boring and basic, you never actually get the feeling of, this I can improve. Unless you're not immediately rewarded by a medal, which you regularly are, so that means you really blew it with the Umbrella Game Nate. The good stuff is that it's probably very fun with friends. Again, most minigames are fun with friends even if it's just for an afternoon. Sure, this one gave me 3 hours of gameplay for me. Maybe with a friend it would have given me 6 or 7, who knows? One thing I also enjoy about this game is that there's an active search for beta stuff about it, one that is fairly untapped to be honest, and it's cool to see a bunch of these minigames that were damn near completion. The obstacle course from Wii Fit, in some manner, is here as an extra minigame. You can play it when you get all of the platinum medals, but they did make several levels and it could have probably been added had they been given another week for development. There's also a cool dolphin game that lacks music and a proper HUD, a title screen demo that lets you look at the Mii's better, and a bare bones version of that one parade game from Wii Fit U that honestly looks like a dream you'd see in Tomodachi Life. If you're interested, I recommend you check it out. It seems like a whole other minigame still left to be found, at least partially. The title screen I personally find is worse than Wii Play. Like, it was really cool to see your character in the middle and have them pose and stuff. Here you just kinda get the image of like the screenshot of the game. It's not that fun to look at. You still get the Mii's messing around in the background though, so that's awesome. And that is the Wii Play Motion video. Check out the other videos in the marathon for more content, which will show up on the end screens in 3, 2... God damn!